continue. All right. Okay, we are live. I'm going to keep letting people in, but we can go ahead and get started. So first of all, welcome to Work It Wednesday. I'm so glad I could be here because actually I've been down for the count for a week. I cannot hear out of my right ear at all still, even with antibiotics. So we're a mess. And actually, so Jim, thank you so much for coming. Our other guest speaker, Anna, she thought that she would not be here because she lost her voice completely, but she was able to make it for today as well. So we are live on Facebook. We're going to go ahead and get started. So this week on Work It Wednesday, the focus is on expired listings. So I found myself over the holiday being sick, feeling sorry for myself, and getting ready for the new year. Of course, I was doing educational work and catching up on videos and coaches and, real estate agents that have really had success with expireds. And I stumbled upon Jim McCord, and I've got to tell you, Jim, I ended up stalking your YouTube videos. Not only do I love your style, but I just want to introduce him. And Jim, feel free to plug in anything I miss. But Jim's been in real estate since the early 90s, and he started coaching real estate agents in 2017. He's also an author of the best-selling book, A Revolution in Real Estate Sales. So I want to go ahead, turn it over to Jim McCord. If you will share your information, give us a little bit. I'm going to share links about you and your coaching inside of this meeting as well. But let's go ahead and turn it over to you on expireds.
Can you enable me so I can share my screen?
Give me just a minute.
Sure. You just
All right.
super.
How's that?
That'll work. Okay, let's see. I usually make this so the speaker is the only one that you see, but that's all right. Just realize I usually have it so like the video of me is right in the center, and I don't think I can do that. Let me
Oh,
see
well,
if
let's go ahead and see if I need to just make you the host so you can do that. Hold on one second. There you go.
All right, let's see. Yeah, I think that'll help. It'll just make the presentation look a little bit better.
Okay.
So hopefully you guys are all looking at my screen, right?
Yes.
Super. Listing expireds in for sale by owners. I've been a realtor, like Jennifer said, since 1993. And when I started back in 1993, I didn't know, just like any other realtor starting, I didn't really know anything. So I paid Mike Ferry and I started the cold phone calling. And I did that. And I did that and I did it for years and it worked and I hated every second of it. I just hated it, literally hated it. And then the longer, as years progressed, and I got more and more repeat referral business and I could do a little bit less of it. But about 15 years ago, I started prospecting for sale by owners and expireds. And it has just been so much better than cold calling. And it's developed over the years. So I'm going to just share the short presentation. I like both expireds and FSBOs. And number one, I say expireds are better than FSBOs. Why is that? Well, if you've been around for a while, when you talk to a FSBO, they usually don't make a decision right away. It takes a couple weeks, sometimes a couple months, sometimes even longer before they decide if they're going to list. And then sometimes it sells before they list. Whereas an expired is, they've already been listed. They're upset. They want to get it back on the market. They know they're going to list. That's number one. And the second reason is almost every expired or almost every FSBO thinks their house is worth way more than market value. And expireds are way more likely to list at a reasonable price. And the other thing I'd like to say, especially in today's market in the last year or two, people say, well, our market doesn't have many expireds. Well, that's true. No market has as many expireds as we did 5 or 10 years ago, just because of market conditions. But if you go back 3, 4, 5 years, every market has a ton of old expireds. And the great majority of those old expireds still want to list. And the other good thing about the old expireds is very, very few agents are calling on those old expireds. Very few agents are calling on them. Whereas if it expired last night at midnight, they have 10, 20, 30, maybe even more agents, depending how big your market is, calling them and sending them information. So new expireds are great, but old expireds are also great. So don't, whatever you do, don't discount going back because it really works. So the gist of what I did and what I coach agents to do is prospect 1, 2, or 3 FSBOs each day, as opposed to the way I started, which was cold phone calling. And I'm not knocking anybody who still does that because it worked back then. I'm sure it still works today, but it's miserable. And my opinion is, why start a relationship with somebody by irritating them? Because we know that people don't like getting cold phone calls. So prospecting 1, 2, or 3 expireds or FSBOs, a combination a day, is a whole lot easier. And as you'll see how I do it, it's a whole lot more powerful. You're going to average 10 new prospects a week. That's 40 a month. That's 480 a year. I mean, you're going to pick up listings when you do it, and you do it this way. So the big thing is, you don't want to just cold phone call them, because then you just like everybody else if you cold phone call them. I'm going to share the exact method. I use 10 as opposed to cold phone calling and mailing and door knocking. I have 10 different methods, and I share all 10 of them on this short presentation. And I do that in just a little bit, but I want to share with you how and why I select the expireds, because it's really important and it's so powerful. When I figured this out, the first photo is so important. You know, it used to be the listing price is the most important, and the listing price obviously is still really important. No way overpriced listing is likely to sell. We all know that. But in today's world, for the last 10, 15 years, because of the internet and the way buyers are searching, the first photo is huge. And you'll see, not just like to get buyers to see your property, that's the big thing, but it's really big to get sellers, expired homeowners, to list with you. And you'll see that in a little bit. I share why. So when you meet with these sellers, you got to explain to them why the first photo is so important. And you'll see that I select the old expireds and the new expireds based on the ones that didn't have the right first photo or the right photos throughout the entire MLS, you know, because a lot of agents are still taking their own photos, and some of them are actually doing it with their cell phone, or they hired a so-called professional who really isn't a professional, and photos make all the difference in the world. So when you meet with these sellers, or when you talk to them on the phone, you need to be able to explain why it's so important. And this is how I do it, the screen. You know, all buyers are searching up. They get on their cell phone, their tablet, or their computer. And unfortunately, most of them go to Zillow, and I usually say it that way too. I hate Zillow. I've never given Zillow a dime. Nobody should ever pay for Zillow leads. I know they work for some agents, but for the great majority, you're wasting your money. That's another topic. I love talking about that, but I won't go into that today. But it is true that Zillow gets more views than both RE/MAX and Keller Williams combined, the #1 and #2 companies. So you know, most of them are still going to Zillow. But whether a buyer goes to Zillow or exp.com or kw.com or RE/MAX or realtor.com, what they do is they search. They search a certain price range, a certain area, by zip code, by city, by county, whatever, number of bedrooms. They put whatever parameters, and what pops up is a screen that has one photo of each one of those listings. And this is exactly what a current realtor.com buyer search looks like. And all these photos, I think this was like, I can't read that, the print's so fine, but I think it was like 400 to 800,000. And those are all good photos. But if I was going after any of these expired listings, I would more than likely get the listing because this photo is not good enough. What do I mean by that? Very few agents are using aerial photos as the first photo. It's a huge deal, not because Jim McCord says it is, and I'll explain why. There's 2 reasons that the first photo should be an aerial photo. Number one, if one of these photos on the screen was an aerial photo, your eyes would have went to it immediately because it's different than all the other photos. So it attracts attention immediately. Number 2 is, obviously, it shows the whole yard. It doesn't have to be a huge yard or a spectacular yard or a great view. It doesn't have to have a pool in the back. but it does show more of the property. That's Realtor.com. This is a Zillow search. The exact same thing. All these photos are decent photos. There's not a bad one there. But if I were meeting with this sellers of any one of these homes, I could convince them, because I'm not doing it as a ploy, that if they had an aerial photo for the first photo, they would get more clicks. And that's just a fact. So the next few slides, and I'm going to go through these relatively quickly. I usually spend a little more time, but I know my time is limited with you guys. And the important part is how I get to meet with the sellers. So anyway, these slides are all listings. My last 8 years, I did nothing but $1 million plus homes. My first 21 years, I was top agent in my county a lot, but I never, ever listed or sold a luxury home. I just didn't go after them. I don't know why. I wish I had. My last 8 years, that's all I did was luxury homes. And that's another story. But and I got videos on that. So you search Jim McCord luxury homes on YouTube, and you'll see the history of that. But every photo on the next few slides, the photo on the left is the first photo that the previous listing agent used. And the photo on the right is a photo that we use. Now, obviously, this photo on the right is going to get way more potential buyers to click on it than that photo on the left. Same with this one. This was like a 9.5 acre mini farm. It was listed for $1.1 million with that photo on the left. And to give you an idea how bad some agents are, I did not put that white on the top and the bottom of that photo. That was the actual first photo that that agent used. And anyway, I used the system I used to meet with that seller. And when I met with her, did the tour of the home, I asked her, I hold the MLS sheet up, the expired, and I show her that photo. I said, can I ask, why did your agent use that photo? She goes, what, Jim, that's my house. I guess that's what they all do. And I say, well, let me tell you what they should have done. If you list with us, we're going to get a drone operator out here, an FAA approved drone operator. You never want to take your own drone photos. Legally, we're not allowed to. It's a fine, FAA fine. Some agents are actually being fined. But anyway, I let her know I'll get an FAA approved drone operator out here. And the first photo is going to be an aerial photo. And it's going to show your 2 barns and your lake and the 9 acres. And this one is an exceptional example because it's true. I just told her, I said, nobody is going to buy your house for $1.1 million unless they need 2 barns, both of which are bigger than your house. And that's the truth. So the buyer that's searching for this kind of property, if they see that photo, they're way more likely to click on it than if they just see a house. And she agreed and listed with me. This was not a luxury home. This was only $650,000, but it was on the market for over 500 days with the number one sales agent at that time in the market. She was with Remax. She's a friend of mine, Jane. I know her real well. But she used that photo on the left. And when I got to meet with that seller, I showed him that photo, pointed to it on the MLS sheet that I had. And I said, Art, why did Jane use this photo? She goes, well, he said, well, Jim, that's my house. What should she use? And I said, well, let me tell you how buyers search for property. And I went through that routine, how they go through cell phone, tablet, laptop, do the search and see a bunch of first photos that match their parameters. And I said, Art, your house in this photo looks like a barn. And I said, all the other photos of homes for 650 or 700,000 are going to be more impressive than a house that looks like a barn. I said, now I did click and I saw all your other photos and they're all phenomenal. But when you list with me, I'm going to get an FAA approved drone operator out here. And the first photo's going to be from the air. And it will show that your house backs up to a golf course, overlooks the river, and it will not look like a barn. They agree with you. Once you explain that to them, they agree. It expired. They're looking for reasons to switch. This, again, was an exceptional one. And all my examples are high-end except that last one. And then I think the last one in this slide, only because that's all I did my last 8 years. Once I realized how I could list only $1 million to $2 and $3 million homes, that's all I went after. But 95% of the agents I coach are not luxury agents. They're like 200 to 800,000. So the aerial photos and the importance of inside good photos is exactly the same. And it's actually even more important with the lower priced homes because even fewer agents are using good photos when you go to $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. But this photo on the left actually was that bad. I did not blur it for the presentation. It was that bad. Now, the seller didn't realize that. It's a $2.5 million home. When I showed it to him, I just told him, I said, your agent should have lost their license, in my opinion, for using a first photo. And I mean that. And he listed with us, and this is the first photo we use. And the other thing, like all these examples I'm sharing with you, I've got hundreds of these. And I bring these examples to on listing presentations so I can show homeowners. Let me show you other homes like yours that expired where the agent did not use an aerial photo. And then I'll show you what we used, and it works. This was a $2.2 million home on 140 acres, and it was listed by the #1 Coldwell Banker agent in Cincinnati. And he used that same photo on the left for 2 years, all 2 years. I met with her, showed her, explained the importance of aerial photos. That's the aerial photo that we use. Going to get way more clicks. Got way more clicks. Same with this one. I'm not going to go into the story on this. This is a little bit longer story, but I also want to share just one inside photo only because the first photo is the most important. But when you're searching for expireds, old or new expireds, if they have bad photos of the inside, you want to use that too, because that's almost as important. Photo on the left and the photo on the right are the exact same room. Photo on the left was taken by the listing agent with his cell phone, and photo on the right 2 years later was taken by my photographer who had a wide angle lens, and look how much nicer that room looks the exact same angle. Sellers don't know that. Most realtors don't know that. That's the advantage. So now that, if you agree with me that that's a great way to target listings, now I'm going to share with you how I actually get the listing appointment. Because keep in mind, almost every other agent is either phone call, phone call, phone call, or they're mailing them company information. That's what they're doing. And I'll share with you exactly what I do. That's the kind of stuff that other realtors are sending out. And that's what I sent out too, up until about 15 years ago, company information. So this is what I do, prospecting. I use all these methods. Drop letters. What's a drop letter? This is the drop letter. If it expired yesterday, I'm going to drop this off at their house today. I'm with EXP now too. I was with Keller, I was with Remax, but I'm with EXP, but I would never use EXP or Keller or Remax folders or envelopes, even though they have nice ones, because when they see this with their name on it and confidential, they're going to open that. If they're burnt out on getting all these calls from real estate agents and they see a real estate folder or an envelope on their door, they might throw it away. So what's in there is I print out a letter targeted just to them that goes on the top with their name on it, and then some reasons they might want to list with me. And then below that is I always put their MLS sheet and print out the full MLS sheet, and I highlight their address and the date that it expired. And then below that is my business card. And sometimes I actually include these things, which you'll see in a minute. Gallup does a poll every year, and they ask the public to rank real estate agents in high trust. And we rank below lawyers in high trust, below lawyers. So most of the public doesn't have a high opinion of us. And so sometimes I'll actually include this in the drop packet. And you'll see on that, I wrote, Janet, I'm different than any realtor you've ever met. So that's what a drop letter is. And then mailbox power cards. And that's what I'll share with you next year. That's the drop letter. I like to use the white bubble wrap, sometimes the brown, sometimes the yellow. Like I said, that's what goes on the top. And then I love using these clips as opposed to like paper clips, or just leaving those three things loosely in the envelope. Just looks a little more professional if you use butterfly clamps. And then quite often I'll put the photo of their house on the drop letter also. Great for sale by owners. My system works equally well for sale by owners. The drop letter obviously has different wording. I usually write for sale by owner, put the photo of their house, and then the wording similar to that, their name. If you don't find a qualified buyer to purchase your home, I'd love to meet with you, tour your home, share what we can do to get your home sold. I'm different than any realtor you've ever met. So now we're into the what you can do through mailbox power, as opposed to company mailings, mailing them stuff about your company. And I guess, I don't know, Jennifer, is everybody here with EXP, or is this a whole variety of
Oh, this is everyone. This is a whole variety. I'm with EXP as well.
Okay.
Our next speaker's with Keller Williams. So
okay, super. And like I said, I was with both. Doesn't matter who you're with, but if this were your house getting this in the mail is way better than getting a Keller Williams envelope, an EXP envelope, a Coldwell Banker, a Sotheby's, whatever. Because when they get this, it's like, oh my God, somebody put my house on the envelope. I'm going to open that. And that's a big envelope. As you can see, it's 9 by 12. So when they open it, on the inside is a heavy stock 8.5 by 11 greeting card, photo of their house. And then on the inside of that greeting card is your message, and again, I don't print this stuff out from Mailbox Power. I design it on my laptop. I hit send and Mailbox Power mails it out. And
Jim,
there's other things.
question.
It's not just the gigagram. Like quite often, especially with the higher end $1 million plus, instead of, I will send them a gigagram, but as a second follow-up, sometimes I'll actually put the photo of their house on a box. This is not the shipping box. Everything gets sent priority. So it comes in a priority box from the post office. But when they open that and they see another box with a photo of their house on it, they're pretty impressed. They're going to open that. And then when they open that is this greeting card. And the greeting card, this one's 5 by 7. And that has a photo of their house on it. Your listing is expired. Are you still interested in selling with me? Or are you still interested in selling? So they're going to open that, and on the inside again is your information.
Jim,
And then
what's
on
the
the back, I put
turnaround
in.
time on that? Because so are you not going after the expireds as soon as they're right off the market? These are maybe for some that have been off the market.
No, both. It works for both. Doesn't make any difference. I go after both. I mean, an expired listing is an expired listing. I like to bring up the fact that old expireds are great because there aren't a lot of expireds today in most markets. There truly aren't. Now there were 3 days ago because the end of the year is always the time. But so it makes no difference whether it expired last night or whether it expired a year ago.
What's
But
the
here's
turnaround?
another option. I mean, think about this one. Drive by, get a photo of their house, put it on a box like that. They're going to open the shipping box, see their house on the photo of the box, and inside of this box is an 8.5 by 5.5 postcard photo of their house on it. And then when you turn that postcard around, that's the message. Jerry and Susan, your listing is expired. I'd love to meet with you and share what I'll do to get your home sold. Maximum value, quickest time, PC enclosed puzzle together. And you're probably thinking they would be thinking, what's he talking about? PC enclosed puzzle. But when they go back and look in the box, there's this little blue bag and it's got 12 pieces to a puzzle that you can put together very quickly. And when you put that together in like 30 seconds or a minute, put those puzzles together, pieces together, it's actually their house. And I put the word sold on top of that. So anyway, it's so much better than getting the company information and the constant phone calls, when they get stuff like this in the mail. And then the other things that I coach, feel free to take a screenshot of this or a photo of it if you like while it's up. But Facebook messages, Facebook is great. And Facebook Messenger, very few agents are using Facebook Messenger as a way to prospect expired listings and for sale by owners. And most people today you can find on Facebook. And it's just another way to send them a message, just like a phone call or a card or same with LinkedIn. If you find them on LinkedIn, you won't find as many. Email, if you do the search, you get their email, you can do that, knock at their door. I still believe in knocking at doors and phone calls. I just don't do that first, like I did my first 10 years, because that's annoying, it's obnoxious. So I'm not going to do that first. I am going to do it, but I'm going to do it after they've received stuff like this in the mail from me, because they're way more receptive to talk to Jim McCord because they realize that, hey, that's the guy that sent me some customized stuff. And you can also go to the extent of sending a mug. Mugs are phenomenal. I've sent over 500 of these mugs from Mailbox Power. And some agents say, well, Jim, they're selling their house. They don't want a mug with a photo of their house on it. Yeah, they do, because they lived here for years. It's a great keepsake. On this one, I put two, photo of the front and photo of the back. But, if you're an expired listing and you get this in the mail with a card from an agent, it's like, wow, this guy or this gal is really different. And then text messaging, video messaging is phenomenal. If you're not doing it, these smartphones we have, just click on camera. turn the camera around, click on video, record like a 25 or a 30-second message. Hey, Mrs. Salter, this is Jim McCord. I'm that realtor that's been dropping stuff off at your house. You also got a box in the mail from me with a photo of your house on it. If you're still interested in selling, I'd love to meet with you. I see your house expired and it's not back on the market. Well, you record that 25, 30-second video and you can send that to them as a video message. So when you use all of these methods of prospecting and follow-up, it's way better than just phone call, phone call, phone call. Just works.
Jim, what's the turnaround time usually for one of these drop letters or one of the custom gifts for Mailbox Power?
It's going to be different with depending what part of the country you're in. And it's if you send anything in a box, they ship everything first class, all the gigagrams, these things, these go first class mail. And they also, I mean, there's postcards that are 4x6, there's postcards that are 8.5 by 5.5. And there's postcards that are 11 by 5.5, the really big postcards. Those all go first class. That's going to be anywhere from 2 to literally like 10 or 11 days. The priority, anything that you send, any gift that you send goes in a box, and that goes priority, and that's 2 to 3 day delivery. So if it's a recent expired, it's better to send them like a box or a puzzle with a box because they're going to get it quicker. If it's an older expired, sending the gigagram first is fine because the timing is not that important. Same with the for sale by owner. So anyway, those are some of the takeaways. I'm not going to go through all those because restraint of time. But one of my best users, those of you who are with EXP know AJ Maida. AJ joined Mailbox Power under me about 2.5 years ago, and he loves it. These are just some of the things I've sent to AJ, like, a mug with EXP and AJ and his wife on it. And then coffee coasters are awesome. People love getting coffee coasters. Now, when I send coffee coasters, I never send coffee coasters of Jim McCord EXP. I go to their Facebook page and I get pictures of their family and I put it on a coaster. And you might think, well, people don't use coasters, Jim. They really don't use coasters a lot. But when they get, this is Brandon Moran, you guys probably know Brandon. He's the top real estate coach. He uses it and shares it a lot, Mailbox Power under me. But when people get these coasters with photos of them and their family, and they're not cardboard, these are really nice, thick, high quality. When they get these things, they keep them and they keep them on their desk. They really appreciate it. Stick-ups, I love stick-ups. You see the back of my wall there, those are all stick-ups. And these are stick-ups that I've sent to AJ. I love sending stick-ups to real estate clients and friends and family and myself. Those are all of our kids and our grandkids. And stick-ups just peel off. They're 3x3, 6x6, or 12x12. And you can peel them off and stick them on anything. And then you can peel that off the wall and it doesn't leave any damage. It's crazy. So anyway, I do offer, for any of you who might be interested, I offer 3 free weekly coaching sessions every Tuesday at 8 p.m., Wednesday at noon, and Thursday at 11 a.m. And they're free to anyone who joins Mailbox Power at the executive level under me. And I will also, like I think Jennifer said, if she gets put under me, if anybody who joined you, Jennifer, at the executive level under you, because I do that for AJ too, I will coach them.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. So I'm definitely going to get in touch with you about that for sure.
Yep, these are the ways that you can join, just so everybody knows, executive level. And actually, they're going to make an announcement in about 5 minutes here. I'm going to get on Mailbox Power call in about 5 minutes. They're going to I think they're going to offer another way to join. Probably be a much less expensive version. But I would highly recommend as a realtor you join at the executive level because there's so many benefits. You can send unlimited 8.5 by 5.5 postcards out. Unlimited, where you pay postage only. You pay nothing to print these. And to give you an idea how powerful those are, like I send these out like to a house as opposed to just sold where you get in front of the house and you take that photo and you send it to the neighbors. I get an aerial photo and I put an arrow in front of the house that I just sold. And then on the back, I put the message of the house that's sold. And if you're, this is a house that recently sold in your area. If you're thinking about selling, call me. But people love getting aerial photos of their neighborhood. They absolutely love these. And you can send these out unlimited free, where you pay postage only at the executive level. There's a lot of other benefits too.
Yeah, I
And
appreciate you so much, Jim, for joining. I know that you were limited by time, so I want to respect your time so you can get on
yep.
that other call. I have put his information into the chat, and he has a wonderful YouTube channel that I also shared, so you guys should definitely subscribe. And thank you so much, Jim.
No, thanks for having me. I really I enjoy real estate for 30 years, and I love talking to realtors. So yeah, connect with me on YouTube, give me a call, or email me, or Facebook connection if you have any questions.
Will do. Thank you. And
Thank you.
so for everyone else, so obviously this is a great strategy. I just love the aerial photo strategy because to me it really is something that catches your eyes. I recently had an experience with selling an aerial photo home, and I didn't even mean to, but there was a cool little pond and I wanted to use that. That house flew off the market when everything else was sitting, and it sold for well over asking price by Jim. Our next guest speaker is Anna Krueger. Anna Krueger is amazing. So I'm going to let her introduce, and thank you so much for coming because Anna's actually been unwell, under the weather, and well, she feels fine, but she just lost her voice. So, but Anna has actually been in real estate since 2006, and she was actually actually you were a sales leader in 2006. You joined real estate in 2013, where she quickly became a top agent. She is now, not only was a top agent, but now she is a maps coach with Keller Williams. She's a master agent coach, and she had a wonderful strategy. I just loved what you had to say about expired listings and your strategy and script for calling them and getting to their motivation as the very first step to leading the conversation. So everybody, I'm going to turn it over to Anna right now and allow her to introduce. Anna, let me go ahead and make you the host so you can begin.
Perfect. All right, guys. This is not what I normally sound like. Can you hear me okay? Oh, I didn't want to miss the opportunity to be here, so I will do my best. I've got my tea, I've got my cough drops, so hopefully my voice will last here. So yeah, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Jennifer. And I want to share with you all that when I got into real estate, I had no real estate experience. I had sales experience, but not real estate experience. In that first year, I really focused on expireds and for sale by owners. And I sold 75 houses my first year in real estate. So I share that not to brag. I share that because I know what it's like to be in a class and think, who is this person? What credibility do they have? Is what they're talking about, does it actually work? And I just want to let you know it does actually work, and I'm excited to share it with you today. If we could have you signal me if you cannot understand me, that would be helpful because I'm already wondering, can you understand me?
You're good.
It's funny when you teach webinars for a living and you lose your voice. What do you do? What do you do? So also, if you're able to turn your cameras on, I would love to see you guys. Okay, so let's talk about how do we actually call expireds. I do have a slide deck to help me out today, so let me go ahead and share that with you. And do you want me to talk today as well, Jennifer, about for sale by owners, or really focus on expireds?
You know what? You can definitely, because from what I saw, it's very similar in your approach. So absolutely, I'm sure everybody's wondering how to do that.
Okay, perfect. So how about this? We'll start with calling expireds. Assuming my voice is still there, we will then talk about calling for sale by owners. And as we go, I recommend if you're watching on Facebook Live or if you're, really watching this now, take notes on if you hear a script or dialogue that you're going to want to hear again. It's a wise idea in your notes to put, oh, that was 22 minutes into the webinar, so that you can come back and watch that again. All right, so let's talk about expired mindset. So the biggest thing with expired mindset, we have to remember that this is an interested person. So when I see expired, I think to myself, Had they had a good offer yesterday, they probably would have sold, and they didn't. They didn't withdraw. This is an interested person. The thing is, a lot of times they will come across as disinterested, and it's because they're discouraged. And because they're discouraged, let me ask you all, when you call expireds, what do you hear them say? Partially to get you to interact, but also to give my voice a second. So what do you hear expired say when you call them, if you are calling them?
I'm just going to wait.
Yeah, I'm just going to wait. I have an agent, which I would want to know. I'd have questions around that. I called enough expireds to learn they didn't know that it had expired, and they didn't know that they were no longer bound to that agent. So I would want to know, what's your agreement with them? Are you still under a contract with them? And what I know for calling expireds, a lot of them are like, what, an agreement? Because their agent maybe didn't have them sign one or didn't explain what it was. Yeah, I don't want to sell anymore. Do you have a buyer? Yeah, thank you guys for the chat box. So what we have to understand is, the first thing is, this is someone who's interested to sell, and don't be discouraged by hearing things that are discouraged, defeated, or disinterested type language. So that could be, I'm going to wait to see if the market changes. That could be, I don't think my house will sell in today's market. Could be any of those things. Now let me just share an analogy with you here. We just came off the holidays, which, pause, Jennifer. I'm letting people in from the waiting room. I'm assuming that's okay, but I know I'm the host, so I'm guessing.
Yes, please do.
Okay. 1 second. Woo. Okay. So with expireds, there's an analogy I want to draw for you. So a lot of us just came out of the holidays. How many of you saw a teenage niece, or there's a teenager in your family who's kind of in the dating world? Anybody? All right. So imagine that you're at Thanksgiving dinner and your teenage niece or nephew says to you, oh yeah, I just broke up with my boyfriend of a year. He's such a jerk. Can you imagine if you said to them in that moment, hey, Carrie, what do you think about getting back together with your boyfriend? They'd probably say, did you not hear me? I just said I broke up with them. Why in the world would you ask me if I'm going to do that again? I just told you I'm not with them anymore. And what a lot of real estate agents do is they'll call expireds, and the first thing they'll ask is, when are you going to relist? Now that will work for some people, but have you ever heard that phrase, you're losing so slowly that you think you're winning? That's a scary phrase. And it's that idea of, you might be doing something ineffectively, but it just happens to work on a couple people. So we perceive that it's working very well. Do you know what I'm talking about? Awesome. And so when we start a call with, hey, when are you going to hire the right agent? Or when are you going to relist? It might work for some, but you will get much further if you take them back emotionally to the day that they originally listed. So let's go back to the niece or the nephew analogy. One moment.
Oh gosh, I can relate with you. I mean, it's been my week.
Yeah, I had the flu, and then I was better for 10 days, and I don't know what this is, but it's just been a time, you guys. But let's go back to the niece or the nephew analogy. Let's say again, Carrie, I'm talking to you because I can see your beautiful face in my screen. So let's say I say, hey, Carrie, I know you just broke up with your boyfriend, but what made you want to date him a year ago? Well, if I got Carrie to start telling me why she liked him, well, you don't have to say anything, Carrie. I'm just picking you because I see you right there. But if she said, well, he was really funny, and oh man, I love his family, great family. I love his mom. He's really cute. He carried my books to class and really gentlemanly. Pretty soon, Carrie is going to be crying in the mashed potatoes at Thanksgiving dinner because she just emotionally reminded herself why she originally wanted to date him. Are y'all tracking with me? So now, if I say, all right, Carrie, I just heard you say all the reasons you originally wanted to go out with him. What do you think about trying to get back together? Can you see how that's going to go so much better than if just out of the gate Carrie says, yeah, I broke up with my boyfriend. I'm like, great. When do you want to get back together with him? It's not congruent, right? Like it emotionally doesn't make sense to ask that question. So bringing it back to expireds, know that they will say things like, going back to the boyfriend analogy, they might say things like, oh, he's too tall. I don't, he made too many dumb jokes. But really what they are is they're trying to rationalize because they're actually discouraged. How many of you have done that before? You're really bummed out about something. So you try to talk yourself into why it's better that it didn't work out. Anybody?
Every
I
day.
was like that on New Year's Eve. I was sick. Well, it's better to be home. I'm safer. I don't have to worry about drunk drivers, right? Well, I was actually pretty disappointed, but that was called rationalizing. So just know you're going to hear things like that from expireds. Just, it's not that you don't want to ignore it, but mentally you want to keep in mind they're interested, they're just discouraged. So what you're going to do is take them back to the day that they originally listed. So write this down. What you're going to ask them, is you're going to say your name and their name. So I might say, hey, Jennifer, it's Anna calling from the Haro Group, Keller Williams. Thank you so much for taking my call. Let me ask you guys, why do you think we say thank you for taking my call? What's the psychology of that?
It drops their guard. They don't feel like you're just attacking them right off the jump.
Yeah, it's a rapport builder. It's a big rapport builder. And it's harder to hang up on me. If I said, thank you so much for taking my call today, I really appreciate it. It is going to emotionally be harder now to hang up on me. And that's another reason we express gratitude. Then what you're going to do is you're going to say, I'm calling because I see your house came off the market, not expired. Expired sounds like we're calling dead people. It's not expired. It's, I saw your home came off the market. Is that correct? Because I do need to make sure that that's accurate. And then you're going to say, okay, great. Well, we've helped a lot of people in your shoes. I'm curious, and this is the magic right here. What made you want to sell your home back when you originally listed? Now, in my experience, some of them will answer me, but quickly say, oh, well, I wanted to move because I wanted to be closer to work and I wanted a smaller house, but I've changed my mind. So on the next slide, I'll show you what to do if they kind of defer and don't really want to answer your question. But the basic idea here again is, hey, Jennifer, it's Anna. Thank you so much for taking my call today. I'm calling you from whatever company. I'm calling you because I saw your house came off the market. Is that correct? Great. Well, we've helped a lot of people in your shoes. I'm curious, what made you want to sell back when you originally listed? Got it? Any questions on this right here? Are we good?
Good.
All right. So now you're going to get into it. Now, I will say one objection you might get is, well, why didn't you call me when my house was listed? And the easiest way to diffuse that is to explain, that's a great question, Jennifer. Did you know I'm actually not allowed to call you when your home is listed with another agent? So I can sit here and think, oh my gosh, I know why this house isn't selling. I know what I could do to help it happen, but I cannot call you until your house has come off the market. You know what the most common response to that is? Well, why didn't any of the other realtors explain that to me that called me today? So you're already providing value and you're explaining why they're now today getting all the calls. Sometimes they'll also say, man, everybody's calling me today. And again, just explaining to them, we're actually not allowed to call you when your house is listed. Oh, okay. So again, you're adding value, you're providing education. Any thoughts or questions on that so far? If you're learning something, give me a thumbs up. Awesome. All right, so let's go now to, well, what do you do if they don't really want to engage? They have some of those objections. The first one, the first bullet point is to stick with your question. So if I say, hey, Jennifer, and actually, if you would role play with me, hey, Jennifer, I know that you had your house on the market. What made you want to list back then? Go ahead and answer me, but then give me this, but I want to wait. Go ahead and do that.
Well, I wanted to be closer to family that I have down there, and my husband actually just switched companies and they can move anywhere, but I kind of decided to wait just because like the market's changed so much and interest rates have gone up.
Okay. So I'm assuming I'll go to bullet point 3. I'm assuming that waiting is plan B since you did have your house listed. So let's just talk about plan A. What was plan A? And then
Well,
go ahead.
Well, plan A is that I'd get, the price that we wanted, so that way it would kind of offset what was going on with the mortgage rates and we could buy down the rate a little bit and buy, but selling at that price, I guess, is not something that can happen right now.
And what made you want to buy a new place? And we'll actually stop there for just a moment. But see where it says dig 3 deep? Here's a little trick into getting client motivation. Whatever they tell you, turn it into a question using their words. This is a big rapport builder. So Jennifer says, I want to upsize. My next question should have the word upsize in it because that's her word. Not bigger house. It's the same thing. But by using her exact words, I'm going to build rapport. And I've had people say to me before, I don't know what it is about you, but I just like you. I haven't talked to any other realtors this long. And I also think for all the people admitting that, who is thinking it but not saying it out loud.
Mhm.
So, Jennifer, let's role play for a minute. And notice every question or every answer she gives me, I take a word from it and put it into the next question. Okay. So, Jennifer, I'm curious, what even made you think about buying a new house and selling this one? What's the reason behind it in the first place?
To get closer to family, and I figured that while we were at it, we could go ahead and increase our space since right now we don't really have any storage. And if we move there and closer to family, I have nieces and nephews that would probably spend the night, and we do sleepovers and things like that.
Okay, what's important to you about having nieces and nephews spend the night and having sleepovers?
Well, because my son's an only child, so he'd be able to be closer with them, and we just thought it'd be a really good experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what's the value to you of having your only child son having that time with his cousins?
It'd be great. I grew up with cousins, and so I want him to have the same experience if we're able to make it work, which it doesn't seem
Yeah,
like we're going to. Yeah.
yeah. And then I also heard you say you want to be closer to family. You might have just answered that with your other, the other question. But what's important to you about being closer to family?
A family's everything. I mean, it'd be great. Want to have cookouts and make memories and enjoy all the things.
That's amazing. So what would it mean for you to be closer to family, to have the cookouts and to be able to enjoy all the things?
Oh, it would be great. I mean, it would mean a lot, but like I said, I don't think that's going to happen. It didn't work out, and so that's why we're just gonna take it off the table.
Okay. Now pause here. I got some decent motivation from her. Can you still understand me?
Yeah.
Okay. um, I sound like I've been smoking 12 cigarettes an hour. Is what I sound like. So what I would do in that case, you know how if you have kids and they want dessert, you say after you eat your green beans, then you can have dessert. Well, I'm in the middle of asking Jennifer about her motivation, and she just brought up an objection about the market and all this. We're not going to talk about the market yet because I don't have her whole motivation. So what I'm going to say is, Jennifer, it's a great question about the market. We actually need to talk about that. But I'd love to finish hearing more about why you want to move. So tell me, when you talk about creating memories with your family and all that, not everybody would up and move across town and put all of their belongings in a box on a truck and move across town just to be able to make memories with their family. What makes that so important to you that you're actually thinking about moving?
Well, we've actually like recently had a few sudden losses. My grandmother and my aunt, who was actually only in her 50s. So I guess it's just kind of come to light, it's yeah.
Gotcha. Which, by the way, that was my third question about being closer to family. I asked other questions about the cousins and the nieces and the nephews, but that was my third question on being closer to family. And if you notice on the slide deck, it says go 3 deep. That's why is I was kind of getting surfacey answers, memories, cookouts, Is that a reason someone would move across town? I don't know. But man, hearing that she's had loss in the family, can you see how that's a much deeper answer? And now that's something I can use to talk about with Jennifer to get her re-engaged. So Jennifer,
Anna, I feel like that you just did a ninja trick on me because I didn't even put it together, but I was thinking, why is she still asking? So it made me want to go deeper. So I didn't even know I fell into your script perfectly.
well, by the way, this works great even with friends and family. 3 questions. This isn't a real estate tool. It's a communication tool that we're using in real estate. So if you were to take a counseling class or a coaching class, they teach you to ask 3 deep. And what I want you guys to all remember is you are real estate coaches. The job of a coach is to help the client achieve their goal, right? That's the job of a coach. So yes, you might be called a real estate agent, but what you really are is a coach. How can we possibly help our clients if we don't know their motivation first, right? So if I'm talking, I see you, Deanna, I'll come to you in just a second. So if I'm talking to Jennifer, what's the point in talking to her about all the logistics and the market and all that stuff if I don't understand that part of this is she's had a lot of loss in her family and her goal is to get closer to them, to have time with them and to make memories? That's going to help overcome all of the objections, right? So now I could say, Jennifer, we do need to talk about the market. I have some questions for you about your house. But if I could make plan A happen and get you closer to your family to make the memories and capture that time, have your son grow up with kids, that he can play with, would you still want to do that if we could make it happen?
I think I would. I think we would all. But I think we just got really discouraged.
Jennifer, I don't blame you. And here's what I promise you. I will not list your house if I don't think I can sell it in today's market. I'll be upfront with you about that. So let me ask you some questions about your house so I understand what we're working with here.
Mhm.
And then at that point, I would go into just pre-qualifying her as I would any other seller. The thing is, a lot of houses don't sell because the marketing was bad or the pictures were bad. And I'm going to say this with all the love in my heart for realtors. I am a real estate agent. I love real estate agents. But 2020, 2021 houses were selling so easily that a lot of people lost their skill of selling houses.
That's right.
They're not used to what does it take to sell a house. So there could be every likelihood that you will sell this house. We actually, true story, and then I'll come to your question, Deanna. True story on my team. We had a lady come to us after 6 months of not selling. We raised the price. That thing went under contract in 24 hours. So it is not just the market. A lot of times it's the strategy. Deanna, what's your question?
I just have a quick question, kind of, the 3D, totally get it and understand it, but Jennifer's kind of reaction was my reaction a little bit too, was like, are you listening to me? Or like, I already answered your question.
Yeah.
And so do you ever run into situations where people get frustrated or they feel like, okay, you're this is salesy because you're just keep going with me?
So in all fairness, in a role play, it's a little bit more challenging. I also put Jennifer on the spot. Normally when I role play, I tell people think of a real situation or even be yourself when you bought your house. So I actually felt like I was getting a lot of kind of surfacey stuff. That's not as common when you're actually talking to a real lead because they have a genuine reason. They're not trying to come up with it on the fly. So that's one factor. The other thing, Deanna, is the most common thing that I heard. And remember, I sold 75 houses my first year. So I heard a lot. And it was, why didn't other agents ask me these questions? That was the most common question I got, was nobody else has cared to ask me this stuff. Now, if you're calling enough people, you will have people like, why are you asking me all these questions? And I just look at that as, if I'm not ever getting that, I'm probably not talking to enough people, quite frankly. And my best response to that is, Deanna, I kind of look at it like I'm the real estate doctor. Can I sell your house without knowing why you're moving? Yes. But I can customize my approach and solution so much better if I know what the symptoms are and I understand why you're wanting to move. I don't want to be a doctor that just throws a prescription at you. I want to really understand what's happening. And that works really well, Deanna. So I think what you'll find though, I even had an investor once, he said, I don't even like realtors and you're the only one I'd be willing to meet with. So I said, I only share that to say it works. It really does. And don't get discouraged if you have a few people it doesn't work on, because they might just be having a bad day. I had someone call me yesterday from the Toyota dealership, which I have a Toyota truck. And I sounded like this. And I just said, I just am not up to talking today. Take me off your list. Whereas a normal day, maybe I would have engaged. So you just have to remember not to take it personally. I know we're about at time. So what I'm going to do real quick, let me finish explaining what this expired call sounds like. And then I do want to tell you where you can find more like this. I think you said that was fine, Jennifer, to share.
Oh yeah. And you share that video too, because I am also going to share it. I have all of that with your links to your coaching and everything like that. But that Facebook video, if you guys have time, or Facebook video, the YouTube video that Anna does that goes into detail, it's a 30-minute mastermind on this strategy, was really awesome to watch as well.
Yeah, awesome. And thank you for having me, Jennifer.
Thank you.
So to go back, once you have their motivation, then it's really easy to say, wow, Deanna, if I can make that happen for you, would you still want to? And that's where a lot of them will say yes. Some of them will say, I'm nervous about the market, and then you'll need to educate a bit. And I think the best way to win with expireds is to tell them truly, I will not list your house if I don't think I can sell it. So let me ask you some questions. Now you have a couple resources. I have a class called Mega Lead Conversion. And Deanna, you were asking about this going 3 deep thing. In that class, we actually spend 2 classes that are an hour long just on how to dig for motivation. So you get a lot more. This was limited time, and I admittedly am not at my best at the moment. But in that class, we go a lot deeper. So megaleadconversion.com. And that class starts on February 7th. And I asked this morning, I said, can we activate a code? I told the coaching company that I was doing this today. And I said, can I offer them a discount for being on this webinar today? So I got a code activated for you. If you enter the code WEB15, you'll get 15% off each month of that program. Also, let me put this back up. Here you go. If you would like to join my email list, I just put a Google form into the chat box here. Enter your information, and that's how you can get weekly tips from me as well. But Mega Lead Conversion basically is everything from hello on the phone all the way through a signed agency agreement. So we go over, what do you do if they pick up the phone and they're like, oh, I'm busy, call me later? Well, they picked up the phone. So actually, they probably are not busy. It's just a nice way to try to get off the phone with you. We go through how to set an appointment that actually shows up. I give you a strategy that helps you get the signature, meaning the agency agreement signature of hiring you. 90 to 95% of the time, it's been proven. Students are seeing that type of result. And there's more about the class if you actually go to megaleadconversion.com. I have a video. You can hear what I normally sound like. I'm normally much more energetic for class, but you can see what the class is like. You can see a breakdown of topics. There's a link that says sign up here and you can see all of the dates. And then just remember, enter the code WEB15 and you can have 15% off each month. It's only $199 a month, which I had one client tell me, excuse me. I had one client tell me that after 2 months, she saw, not set, saw 10 people above her average in the first 2 months as a result of the class. So the thing is, you have to ask yourself, how many closings do you think you can get if you're seeing results like that out of a 6-month program? She was only 2 months in. And the class is only $1,200 if you pay full price. That's usually for most people about 15 times ROI, 8 to 15 times ROI if you get one closing from the whole class. So I think you just have to ask yourself, are you actually going to show up and participate? And if you will, I am fully confident that you will get your $199 back. And then use that code WEB15 again, and you can get a discount.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, I really appreciate you coming. I know that you're struggling today. We're all on struggle bus, but I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, before Anna got off, did anyone have any questions?
Thank you for being here, guys,
Yeah, absolutely.
and staying with me.
All right, so no questions. Well, I shared your links, and also, guys, I'm going to be sharing afterwards how you can go ahead so you can watch Anna's original YouTube video on it. But thank you so much for giving us the discount as well, because that sounds incredible, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jennifer.
Welcome. And for everyone else, thank you guys for coming. But I really wanted to chat about the expireds, because as we move forward into business, I think this year was a real wake-up call. It was for me, because I was on a high of this, unstoppable market. And what I realized is, just like the course I released a while ago, it's like back to basics. And I really like the idea of having a very big subsection of organic leads that aren't costing money. And expireds and FSBOs are a great way to do that. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do a million of them every day, but Anna, the strategy that she shared, she was showing how her personal metrics was 1 out of every 3 FSBOs she was setting an appointment, and 1 out of every 8 using this method she was setting the appointment. So I thought, between what Jim was sharing with using that aerial photo, I mean, I don't know why I watched that YouTube and it just hit me, and I thought, my eye definitely goes to the only aerial photo. So I like that. And pairing it with the script that she uses for the phone, what's really cool about it is, I don't know if you guys are just better than me at this, but I would always call and say, when are you hoping to list your house again? And her first thing was, no, that's the last thing that you want to do. The first thing that you're going to do is find out why they listed their house to begin with. And I thought it's a great way to disarm them and really just get to the root of why they were listing their house, and then going from there. So I hope at the very least this was helpful. I'm going to take any questions you guys have, but I do want to let you know, all of you are going to get a guide, just like I do every week. It's going to have both of their information, both of all their links. It's going to have this particular recording, and I've already inquired about getting Jim's script. I'm sorry, not script, his slides, because I was asked that. So don't worry, everything's going to be in there, and I'm going to share it in the Work It Wednesday group. But before we get off, did anyone have any thoughts about the training or any questions in general? No. Does anybody currently do expireds? I'm just wondering, because it's something that I've called off and on, but it hasn't been a continuous effort of mine. Does anyone? Yeah, how many do you do in like a week?
Well, between me and my ISAs, we do a lot, and my goal for this year is to go heavy on expireds and FSBOs.
Nice. And you find calling them first thing in the morning to be best?
I'm in Michigan, so we get more answers in the evening.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, when Jim was telling his, he says that for him, it's usually better to call about 8 in the morning because by 10 they've already had 12,000 phone calls. So I did.
Yeah, and at that point they're really irritated. And when I call and if I can hear that they're super irritated, I kind of laugh and I'm like, I can tell I'm not the first agent that called you today, am I?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you're not. I've been hammered with them. And I will go in and tell them too, like, yeah, I explain, why they're getting so many phone calls. And they're like, can you take me off the list somehow? I'm like, unfortunately, I can't. Unless, you let me list your property and then they're going to stop calling you.
That's great. And one thing though, do you find like a big gap with the price that they want? Because oftentimes I find that, especially for FISBOs, that the price may be a little unrealistic. So how do you navigate that where they know that pricing may be a consideration and they're still going to be looking at paying a commission? So like, what is your strategy for that?
So just yesterday, I followed up with the FISBO. His property is $100,000 overpriced. And I'm a very blunt forward agent. So I told him, and I was like, I went over the comps with him and he's like, yeah, he's like, I used my neighbor, about 5 houses down sold. I used theirs as a comp. I said, no, you didn't. I said, because you're asking $335,000 for your property. Their house sold for $207,000. You didn't use that as a comp. And I said, another thing, it's not a comp because your square footage and blah, 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 not even comparable. You didn't use it as a comp. But I told him, I said, no matter what, your house is never, ever going to sell for in the $300,000 ever. I said, you will be very lucky to get $260,000. I said, you're going to get agents that will absolutely list it for what you want because they just want your listing. And I explained the process of how it looks bad with all the price reductions and sitting on the market for a long time. And I said, and I know you're not ready to fully understand what I'm telling you or hear what I'm telling you. So I know you're going to let it sit and you're probably going to go the route with the agent that is going to overprice your property. And I said it, but if you let me list it, what it needs to be listed at, it's going to sell in less than 7 days and you're going to walk away with a nice chunk of money. But if you go the route that I know you're probably going to go, you're going to get a lot less than what I could have got for you. And he's like, all right, well, I will keep that in mind. So I'm going to follow up with them again, but they're stubborn. FISBOs are really stubborn.
Oh yeah. Carrie is straight up about it.
I am. I'm very forward.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you guys so much and happy 2024. I hope everybody has a healthy and productive year. And I will be sharing this in just a little bit. So thank you again for coming as usual. Isabel, to answer your question, I actually, in all of my searching for information, I watch endless amounts of YouTubes, especially like if I'm driving, I'll just listen to it. And Jim and Anna stood out. And I reached out to them afterwards. They had their credentials. I liked their messaging and I liked that it was different than what I've heard typically. And I reached out and not only were they amazing, but they definitely were interested in coming and joining us today. But honestly, I will reach out to anyone. Like they could be a superstar agent. I've emailed Krista Mayshore as well. I haven't gotten responses from her, but I'm not scared. I will reach out to anyone, and they were both very happy to share.
Thanks for sharing, Jennifer. I really enjoyed listening from both the speakers. I took a lot of notes and it helped me like improve what we're going to be doing in 2024. So thank you so much.
You're so welcome, and you guys will get the guide in just a few minutes once I download the recording. Talk to you soon. Bye.